Okay, so good morning anyway, and we are going to start recording our unit. We're going to work with unit 5C, right? But first I'm going to share. Déjame ver si puedo. Voy a compartir primero, babies. Wait a minute, be patient. Ya. ¿Lo ves, Tiare? Tiare.
Yes.
Ya. ¿Ves que dice advantages of tourism?
Yes, Miss.
Yeah, okay, good. So what we're going to do is in unit 5C, if you have the books, si tienes el libro, we have the name of the unit is the real cost of travel, right? And here we said first what kind of tourism is there in your country or region and list some advantages and disadvantages of tourism. This is what we did. Eso es lo que hicimos. But here you see I put some of the, we listed, listamos, ¿ya? Hicimos esto, listamos, we listed the types of tourism, ¿ya? I also sent this. También esto lo subí, Tiare. Esto, que se llama, el archivo se llama Advantages of Tourism. Está en Google Classroom. ¿Ya?
Okay,
Va a aparecer igual aquí. Types of tourism. There you have it. We have business tourism. You know, we have nature tourism, cultural tourism, social tourism, recreation tourism, active tourism, sports tourism, religious tourism, health tourism, adventure tourism, and wilderness tourism. And which of the, I mean, what is the meaning of this? Well, we said that first, we talked about business tourism, and we mean this is when people travel, you see, to complete a business transaction and or attend a business event or a business conference, for example, or a business meeting. That's the idea of business tourism. And then nature tourism is when people travel, but with what is the idea? The idea is to travel to enjoy a natural setting of wildlife. And this, of course, includes ecotourism, which specializes in the study and conservation of natural environments. This is nature tourism. There are many people that when they, you know, go on vacation and they start thinking about, hey, what are we going to do? What type of tourism are we going to have? And they think about this because nature tourism is very important, especially to know those places that are still natural. They haven't been touched by the human beings. And then we have in number 3, cultural tourism, which is very common, right? This is what there are people who like to know about the history of a place. They like to know about the folklore music, about the culture of a people. This is what we call cultural tourism, right? And this, you know, tourism, people here are attracted to cities for their nightlife, also for their entertainment, right? For different things. Social tourism is when people travel, you know, I mean, that, oh, this is a kind of travel that involves the company of others, such as, for example, tour, bus, travel, and family visits. That's social. When you have a tour bus, is you have many people on a bus, you see, and this is a tour that has been planned in advance. And you go with these people all the time together to visit different places. That's why social, at the same time that you meet people, you know places. Well, and then we have recreation tourism, which is tourism to escape the routine of daily life. For example, what is a typical recreation? It's when people go camping or when you go to a beach tourism, right? Active tourism, well, this is tourism that has a set of objectives. For example, what is objective here? Climbing a mountain, right? Or other things, you see? Learning a new language, that's active tourism. There are many people now that like to go to other countries because they say that this is a good way to learn the language. So that's why they decide to go to England. They take a course, you see, in order to learn how to speak in English. That's active. Sports tourism, tourism to experience a sport or sporting event, such as ski holidays or the Olympics, right? Or, for example, when there is an important football event abroad or soccer event abroad, this is a sports tourism. There are people who travel together, you see, and they go to these sports events. Religious tourism, this is tourism that involves visiting a place of spiritual significance. For example, they usually go to churches, different kinds of churches they visit. So this is the idea of religious tourism, right? To know old, for example, churches that you can find in the cities, new ones also that are very beautiful. If you go abroad to other countries, Yare, there are churches that you can really get astonished of the beauty of these places. They're really beautiful. Health tourism, well, as the word says, tourism to improve one's health, such as a visit to a health resort or weight loss, camp. Adventure tourism, tourism that involves challenge and adventure, such as trekking through a tropical rainforest or rock climbing. And finally, we have wilder tourism, which is tourism in remote wilderness areas to experience something very different from everyday life. Okay, from these types of tourism, Tiare, which is the one that you like? Which do you like? What type do you like? Business, nature, cultural, social, recreation, active, sports, religious?
Nature.
Nature tourism. Okay. Yeah, me too.
Yes.
I also like this one, nature tourism. I think it's especially when you go to enjoy these natural settings. Yeah, it's very beautiful. Have you been to some places where you can find this kind of tourism? Have you been in some places in Chile
Mm,
or abroad?
I don't know. I think maybe
Mm-hmm.
Cerro La Campana because
Yeah,
I saw a
yeah,
lot of cows and
yeah.
horses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a natural tourism, Cerro La Campana. Yes, that's a very beautiful place. And I have to tell you that no, I mean, last summer I was in nature tourism. I visited Carretera Austral, which is, a natural setting of wildlife.
Very beautiful.
Oh, it's really beautiful. It's unbelievable. I mean, the landscapes are, you know, I think something that I have never seen in my life. It's a really beautiful place, and this is something really natural. Tiare. Nobody has, let's say, for example, nobody has built, for example, big resorts or built. No, everything is still there. You see, there we have lots of natural settings there of wild. Even we have beautiful settings. And also wildlife there, right? You can see beautiful
Yes.
animals in the. You see, Carretera Austral. Very beautiful. Okay, and what do you think about Chilean people? What type of tourism do Chilean people usually have in general? In general,
Mm, sport tourism
yeah, sports tourism, yes, yes,
and social tourism.
yeah, and social tourism, yeah. You see that there are many people who travel together. You see, in those tour bus,
Yes.
very
See.
common. Yeah, they travel together because it's cheaper, right? It's cheaper, and they take you to the most important places. So maybe you're not going to get lost. That's something interesting. Okay, and then we talk about the advantages of tourism. This is something that we talked also, Tiare, in question number 1 that says list some of the advantages and disadvantages. And we listed, y las listamos, yeah, here. What are the advantages? Well, first, it brings money. It brings in money, right? In the economic aspect, tourism brings in money. This is probably the main advantage of tourism. And the reason why it refers to tourism here, why it has been promoted so much, especially in developing countries, right? Kimberly is there also. Okay, so this is something we talked about, you see, last class. And also another advantage is that tourism provides, jobs, you see hotels, bars, transport, activities, shops, restaurants, etc. All need staffing. So they all need people to work in these places. That's why, tourism provides, different types of jobs. That's important. And in terms of infrastructure, it produces, or it provides, in this case, a means and an incentive for investment. Yeah. So people invest, in infrastructure, for example, because in order to have a good kind of tourism, Chile, our country, has to offer, of course, good infrastructure, like, for example, good roads, good rail networks, medical facilities, you see, also education facilities. So this is important in terms of infrastructure and good hotels, of course, good hotels. And in terms of environmental aspect, well, it can provide economic incentives for a place to preserve. This is an advantage to preserve, maintain, and generate the environment. Because if we don't preserve, these places or maintain these places, maybe we can have very, very, let's say, difficult situations in the future, or lots of problems in the future in terms of the environment. In terms of employment, tourism, provides direct employment for the people. Everything is associated with what we talked before, right? About, for example, occupations in restaurants. You can find, a job in hotels. You can find a job in bars. In different places when we, are, for example, when tourism, especially in the best season of tourism, which is summer in most of the countries around the world. Up to here, up to here, we talked with Kimberly about the, you see, we listed, as I told you, the types of tourism and the advantages. And then, y después nos fuimos a esta, the disadvantages in a very short way. And we said that, we listed that tourists cause environmental damage. For example, through forest fires. Do you remember a couple of years ago, Tiare and Kimberly, hello. Do you remember that a couple of years ago, a man from another country provoked a big fire in Torres del Paine?
We didn't know about that.
Yeah, so that was terrible because there was a huge destruction of, of important parts, you see, of the Torres del Paine. So the guy, had to pay a very incredible sum of money as a fine. And I don't know what other things, he had to do, but it was very, very terrible for the place, right? Because this is a very natural setting, a natural place, and people take care a lot about this place. Well, and also they cause pollution, of course. The destruction of sand dunes, for example, in Concon, you see, in Concon, we have sand dunes. And now, because of the people, many people that are going there, not only now, just from, let's say, 5,
Me?
6 years ago. Yes?
What is dues?
Las dunas de arena,
Ah,
sand
okay.
dunes. You know that in Concon, do you know that in Concon we have sand dunes? And now
Yes.
they are protected now because, we are having lots of problems with the dunes. So people were distracted. There was a distraction about them, right? That was the problem. So that's why they had to protect them now. And also they cause pollution because you see, there are different kinds of pollution. People throw things, into the dunes, into the beaches. So this is something very, very bad for the place. Well, consequently, it says this, serves negatively. Yeah, as increased pollution disturbs local residents, of course. People, for example, who live in Concon started claiming about this issue, right? Because it started disturbing them. And also, this may discourage tourists, from further entering the country. So this is something that is bad. It becomes, a disadvantage at the end. And then there is another problem, disadvantage, Tiare and see Kimberly, that plastic pollution, the bottles, for example, that are made of plastic. Plastic pollution is also a very serious problem, from tourism. Yes, this is correct, right? Many people drop litter. That's correct. Litter is also connected with, paper. That's litter. Litter is paper, is packaging, etc. Thrown, on the ground. That's what tourists do sometimes. They throw, for example, if they are eating a cone, for example, of French fries, they throw the cone. The cone is made of paper. So they throw this to the ground. If they are eating, I don't know, maybe a sandwich, and the sandwich is, it has a I don't know, a napkin made of paper, they throw that napkin to the floor. So you see, to the ground. So this becomes, you know, something very bad to the environment. So this becomes, in other words, pollution at the end. Well, many people drop litter, yeah, carelessly everywhere, especially some drinks, plastics, yes, you know, and plastic packets, yeah. Drinks, plastics, as I told you, like Coke, for example, the typical soft drinks that we have, juices, etc., and plastic packets. So packets that are made of plastic that we have, for example, you know, sometimes you go to a supermarket or to a restaurant and you want to eat something fast. People usually put in that packet, you see, that is made of plastic. They put you the French fries and maybe, and then it could be a sandwich. And well, people go there, they eat these things, and then what do? They throw, you see, the plastic packet. Well, it causes soil pollution. Soil, you know, soil is suelo, right? Soil pollution, and ruins the environment. Yeah, of course, especially if you are in, for example, if you are, let's say, where maybe in a place that is protected, this is very bad, very bad. People are not conscious about it. Well, it ruins the environment, and this factor can affect, of course, local residents' lives. And we also have, you see, moreover, noise pollution also influences the local residents' lives. Yes, noise pollution, you know, this may not seem like a big problem, but loud noises can scare animals out of the area and possibly even disrupt the local ecosystem. Yeah, you see, so this is something that is not good because the noise causes terrible and serious problems to animals, right? Because they feel really scared about that noise. So that's why this is not good, especially for the ecosystem, right? So that's why, for example, in Concon, in the past, we used to see animals, different kinds of animals. Now we don't see anything, right? Because there is too much noise there. There are, for example, there are lots of buses running in Concon. Not only buses, cars, I mean, motorcycles, that they make a lot of noise sometimes. So this is something very bad. This is the disadvantage. Maybe we can add others. Nosotros, we can add others, right? From what I have read and you have read, we can add other advantages. For example, well, in general, if we want to summarize the advantages, I mean, like summarizing, we can say that tourism provides money, right? And also jobs for people, you see, and especially for local people. And the other thing is that sometimes, you know, some places are protected, so this is good, this is an advantage. And tourism, you know, also improves local infrastructure. This is also good because we can see the places that look better, or we can find new places, new hotels, new restaurants. Okay, so this, I mean, changes, for example, how the city looks like. And the disadvantage, if we can summarize, there is another thing that I didn't mention, is overcrowding. That's a disadvantage. Viña, for example, think about Viña del Mar. What happens with Viña in summer when there is a lot of tourists around? The city becomes overcrowded, you see? So that means you see lots of people walking. So Viñamarinos, porteños feel very bad when there are many people, you see, in the city. So this is a disadvantage, overcrowding. The other disadvantage is pollution. Too much, you know, I mean, let's say development and construction. It could be a disadvantage too. Too much development in terms of new restaurants, new hotels, new, let's say, fast food places, etc. So natural places can be ruined. That's pity. That's a pity that the natural places sometimes can be ruined because tourists don't care those places, right? There is another fact. I don't know if you have noticed that when we have lots of tourists, the prices increase. So everything is more expensive. So we can say that we have increased prices. That's a disadvantage. Particularly house prices. So people who want to rent their houses, they rent them at a very high price. And this can affect sometimes local people because everybody starts selling. For example, if you go to the open fair to buy food, to buy vegetables, or to the supermarket, you find everything more expensive in that time of the year, right? When, you know, tourism, you see, is in its peak time, right? Okay, this is the end. This is, I summarized, you know, Tiare, and what we did with Kimberly, I mean, last class, right? Okay, that was the, what we did, Kimberly, with these things, right? So I'm going to stop, you know, sharing. All right, now we are going to go then to the book again, and we are going to go to the things that we checked with Kimberly in Unit 5C. Now we have to read the article quickly and choose the best option. We didn't read it, so now we're going to read it. It says it describes how tourists have been getting involved in conservation activities. It compares harmful and beneficial effects of tourism. And C, it looks at the negative impact of tourism. Okay, we have to read this first. Yeah, you're going to read because I have, you know, I made the summary to, you know, to Tiare, and I think that you need to read. So the name of the reading is on the next page. This is, it says the real cost of travel, right? This is the name. Okay, who wants to read, Tiare or Kimberly? The real cost of travel. Kimberly or Tiare?
Pero, ¿qué página es?
Is 63, page 63. This is the reading. 63. Okay.
Okay, I found it. Which part do you want us to read?
You have to start from the beginning. It says the real cost of travel. And this is mass tourism from there. Mass tourism is a relatively recent phenomenon.
Okay, mass tourism is a relatively recent phenomenon.
Yeah.
The tourism industry took off in the middle of the last century and it's been growing ever since. In the last 10 years, especially, more and more people have been traveling to places we had previously only read about or seen on television. But what kind of impact does tourism have on the planet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A, you start. And then we can ask Clara to read the second. So go on, Kimberly. A, voyage to the end of the earth. A voyage.
Okay, so voyage to the ends of the earth. A large cruise ship can carry as many as 6,000 passengers, and there are upwards of 50 such ships currently sailing the seas. Cruise ships dump about 90,000 tons of waste into the ocean every year. Any harmful effects of this are made even worse by the fact that cruises tend to visit the same places over and over again, thus concentrating the waste in specific places. In Patagonia, this is now having a visible effect on wildlife. The population of animals such as these Magellanic penguins. Penguins has been in decline for some years now, and things show little sign of changing.
Yeah, okay. Very interesting, this paragraph. I like it. So it says a voyage. You know voyage? Voyage is a trip, but by sea, right? So every time that you talk about voyage, it means by sea, right? So remember that, voyage. So this is when people travel by sea. That's why here the paragraph, you know, tells you about a large cruise ship. Okay, good. Maybe then we can start checking vocabulary and trying to explain this part. Can you go on, Tiare? Trash on top of the world. On top of the world, right? Wow.
Trash on top of the world. From remote ocean abyss to the world's highest mountain, our trash is everywhere. despite the fact that far fewer people go climbing or trekking in the Himalayas than on a cruise.
Push.
Their impact is still felt.
Hmm.
Tourism is vital to the economy of Nepal,
Mhm.
as it is to many non-industrial countries. But for decades,
For decades,
decades, climbers have been abandoning their
abandoning,
unwanted,
abandoning their un-
abandoning
abandoning their unwanted
equipment on Everest. For the
equipment.
last few years,
Mhm.
cleanup teams of local and international climbers have been organizing
Yes.
expeditions
Mhm.
just to pick up the waste. One group has brought over 8 tons of waste down from the mountain, but the actions don't stop there. The Japanese teams, for example, have also been educating other climbers back home in Japan about being more responsible on the mountain.
Good. Next one, Kimberly again. When more is not better.
Okay. When more is not better. Tourism of a different kind of is causing problems in Europe. Construction on the on the Mediterranean coast has been spiraling out of
Berlin,
control for years. Beach resorts form an almost unbroken line from Gibraltar,
Gibraltar,
Gi-
Gibraltar,
Gibraltar to Greece, and
Greece,
natural habitats have disappeared under miles of
concrete,
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 concrete.
and
Yes.
so we pollute the sea, the land, and the air. Low-cost air travel is booming in spite of perhaps helped by economic problems. For many Europeans, low-cost flights allow them to take several short vacations a year. Yet, curiously, short flights actually have much bigger effect on climate change than long-haul flights. So, are there less damaging ways of seeing the world? Traveling by train, for example, is a much greener way of getting around, and many places have been experimenting with low impact tourism, such as ecotourism. It is time to ask ourselves some difficult questions. Have we been destroying the very places we're escaping to?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Now we can check again in terms of understanding each of the paragraphs. Well, the first one is the real cost of travel. We're talking about mass tourism. This is a new phenomenon, right? That the author is talking about. It's a new phenomenon now, and he says that the tourism industry took off in the middle of the last century, right? So it started, a lot of years ago, and it's been growing ever since. So from that time, tourism hasn't stopped growing. Maybe now, because of the pandemic, now we maybe that industry, is stopped, but not before, just for this specific situation. In the last 10 years, especially more and more people have been traveling to places and we had previously only read about or seen on TV. This is correct, right? Because as you can see, there are many people today that can travel, to different places that they had never imagined in their lives that they could go. But now it has been possible during the last years. You see, but what kind of impact does tourism have on the planet? This is the question. Well, it has a lot of impact anyway. Well, let's see. It says number one, a voyage. I told you, voyage is a trip by sea. So you need to take a ship, to have a voyage. Well, a large cruise ship can carry as many as 6,000 passengers. And there are upwards means more than, upwards, more than, that's the meaning. So there are upwards of 50 such ships currently sailing the seas. So imagine we can have lots of these ships which are, large cruise ships. They are big, they are immense. You have seen some of them in Valparaiso Bay sometimes. You see, when they arrive here, we can see that they are very big, but the ones that we see in Valparaiso are not as big as the one that you can see, for example, in the US. In the US, they are immense. They have sometimes 11 floors, right? They're very big. Okay, so imagine, so the number of people they can carry. So it says cruise ships dump, that's not good, dump because they discard, you see, this is something like a disadvantage. They dump about 90,000 tons of waste. Remember I told you what waste is what is, no, waste is, I didn't tell you anything. Waste is what is left, you see, after what is useful. So, I mean, this is something that they are always, for example, something they don't need anymore. So that's what they do. Most of the time we talk about industrial waste because when people, for example, use clippers, paper clips, they use a lot in this kind of ships, right? Because they send all the time, they are sending information to the passengers. So they use a lot of papers, a lot of clips, a lot of different things. And then when they don't use it anymore, people usually put them in the, you see, waste paper basket. So as you can see, and then they throw this kind of waste. Okay, so they throw this waste, into the oceans every year, into the ocean. Imagine, so they are very irresponsible people, right? And any harmful effects of this are made even worse by the fact that cruises tend to visit the same places over and over again. Yeah, because they have like a routine. For example, from the United States, you see, I don't remember exactly, from Miami, for example, from Miami, most of the cruises, the big ones, lead from there. And then they have, the itineraries and they start visiting different cities and countries that are near, not so far, but the routine is the same. So imagine the number of the tons of waste that they throw or they discard into the ocean is immense. Well, it says here that, well, that's concentrating the waste in specific places. Yeah, so most of the time they have in the same places, the waste. In Patagonia, this is now having a visible effect. Patagonia, so this is in our country maybe, or in Argentina also. In Patagonia, this is now having a visible effect on wildlife. You see, the population of animals such as these Magellanic penguins has been in decline. So you see that, for example, the penguins that you see in the picture that we used to see many in Patagonia, for example, now we are seeing, less every year because they have been, affected by this issue. Well, so the population of animals, you see, are in decline now. This is something very bad. Well, and the worst thing is that maybe we have some signs of changing, but they are very little. I think it's a pity. Trash on top of the world. Well, so the first paragraph is, I think we can understand it. We know what the paragraph is about in the first one. So we have important things about what is happening, especially with the cruise ships, right? And the problems they have, the effects that we have on, for example, on wildlife, and so on. Trash on top of the world. Yeah, it says here, from remote ocean habitats to the world's highest mountains, our trash is everywhere. Yeah, you can find trash everywhere, even in places that are very far away, but you can also find trash. Despite the fact that fewer people go climbing, yeah, few people, not many people, go climbing or trekking in the Himalayas, for example, than on a cruise, their impact is still felt. Tourism is vital to the economy of Nepal, of course, and it is to many non-industrial countries. Yeah, okay. For But for decades, climbers have been abandoning their unwanted equipment on Everest. Oh, this is bad too, because they are, leaving their equipment there for years. So this at the end becomes something bad because this is also, trash. For the last few years, cleanup teams of local and international climbers have been organizing expeditions to pick up the waste. Yeah, so this is something good because they are doing something in order to pick up, the waste. All right, good. One group has brought over 8 tons of waste down from the mountain. Imagine the amount of waste that they have brought. Well, but their actions don't stop there. The Japanese teams, for example, had also been educating other climbers back home in Japan about being more responsible on the mountains. Yeah, this is something good because, yeah, they they love maybe going climbing or they love going trekking. But the thing is that these people are at the end very irresponsible because they start, they leave their trash or the waste there, and at the end they cause damage, to the environment or to the wildlife. So
Miss,
yes,
the word dump is like true
in the first
waste.
paragraph, dump.
Yes.
Yeah, in the first paragraph, it's used as a verb, está usado como verbo, Tiare, because it's cruise ships dump. O sea, los cruceros, los barcos, dump, botan. Está usado como botar.
Botar.
Claro, no como el botadero, o sea, como el lugar donde, ese que es como una quebrada grande, el dump.
Okay.
Aquí está usado como verbo, como botar, como discard, right? Okay.
Okay.
When more is not better, the next paragraph, it says tourism of a different kind, yeah, is causing problems in Europe. Yeah, different kinds. Construction on the Mediterranean coast has been spiraling out of control for years. Yeah, this is something that you have noticed. Maybe for example, when you see, for example, the news, or when you see, for example, a program about tourism, we can notice this, right? That the construction, especially on the Mediterranean coast, which is a very important place, many people like going here, has been spiraling out of control. Spiraling out of control is an expression that it means to become uncontrollable, uncontrollable, right? That is the expression here. Yes, it is. So you see, for example, on the coast, you see buildings, and then it's like an spiraling, meaning one and one and one. So this is uncontrollable. That's the idea, right? It has become uncontrollable for years. Beach resorts from almost unbroken line from Gibraltar to Greece. Wow. Beach resorts. You see, so this is something also incredible. So we see there everywhere, and they have, they form an almost unbroken line. Well, that's a pity anyway. It says, unnatural habitats have disappeared under miles of concrete. Yeah, you see, the natural habitats that you used to see in the past now have disappeared under miles of concrete. When we say under miles of concrete, what we mean is under lots of buildings, because buildings are made of concrete. So it's figurative. Es un lenguaje, digamos, figurativo. No tal, no es lo real. O sea, se refiere a eso. Cuando dice miles of concrete. So that natural habitats have disappeared under miles of concrete. Yeah. So as you see in the picture, si ven la imagen ustedes, this picture here, esa, you see, this is, something that like an spiraling line, something that is uncontrollable here. Well, in you see, and maybe in the past here we used to see different places. It was maybe natural habitats, but these places have disappeared now because of this, because of the concrete. All this is concrete because of these places, resorts, buildings, new offices, etc. Well, and so we pollute the sea, of course. With all these things, what we do is we pollute the sea. because from one side we have the the cruise ships. We have also the people who like go climbing or trekking, and then we have that you say tourism that is maybe they are building for example lots of places along the coast and like beach resorts. They are also damaging the ocean. And we have that there is another fact. So apart from that, we pollute the sea and the land and the air, because what happens? Low cost air travel is booming in spite of economic problems. Yeah, you see, for example, sometimes you see that the airline companies offer good prices, and they say now you can travel. For example, remember 2 years ago or 1 year ago, you could travel to La Serena by 6,000 pesos or less by plane. So very cheap, you see. Or you could travel to other places, to the south of Chile, or maybe even to Peru, for example, at a good price, 20,000 pesos, very cheap, because we used to pay 80 mil or 60,000 pesos to La Serena, and 6,000 pesos is very cheap, right? Compared to what they used to charge before. Okay, so this, low cost travels, low cost air travel is booming in spite of, perhaps helped by economic problems. For many Europeans, low cost flights allow them to take several short vacations a year. Yeah, so people, instead of traveling only once a year, they can travel like many times a year because of these, prices that are very cheap. These, low cost flights. Okay, and actually, it says short flights actually have a much bigger effect on climate change than long haul flights. Haul flights mean the long distance flights, right? Yeah, because of what? Because these short, you see, maybe flights, you can see flights, having flights in a day, like 4 flights or 5 flights. But when it's a whole flights, maybe we can have 2 a day. You see? So this is different. So there are less damaging ways of seeing the world. So are there less damaging ways of seeing the world? Traveling by train, for example, he says, traveling by plane is better. It's much greener way of getting around, and many places have been experimenting with low impact tourism, such as ecotourism, which is better. It's time to ask ourselves some difficult questions. Have we been destroying the very places we are escaping to? Have we been destroying the very places we are escaping to? I think we have been doing this. All the people, especially tourists, you see people who have the money to maybe to travel 3 times, 4 times a year. This is not good because we cause damage at the end. Okay, according to the article, very interesting, very interesting. What do you think, babies? I feel pity because of the penguins, because I love them. I think the wildlife, we have to protect our wildlife. You see, it's very important. We need this. The planet needs the wildlife. We need, for example, the mountains. We need the dunes, right? We need the clean air. But what we're doing the other way around. So we are, instead of helping the planet, we are destroying it at the end. You see, for example, instead of building less resorts or less buildings, big hotels, we are building more and more and more. Sometimes you see in one street, for example, abroad, or even in some places in Chile, 10 hotels, for example, big ones. I think there is too many, right? We don't need too many hotels. Okay, so according to this article, which is, I think, very important, the real cost of travel. So this is a cost at the end. So we have to pay the cost of this, of travel. Well, if you go back to number 3, read the article quickly and choose the best option. What could be the best option here? A, B, or C? What do you think? That it describes how tourists have been getting involved in the conservation activities, or it compares harmful and beneficial effects of tourism, or C, it looks at the negative impact of tourism. What do you think? A, B, or C in exercise 3? I think A, nothing to do. But what about B and C, babies? Tiare, what do you think?
Maybe B, but C is the most correct.
Yeah, I agree. I think that C is the best option. Yeah, I think
Yes.
C because it involves what we are talking about. That you see, the article looks at the negative impact of tourism. You see, that is talking about, for example, first in the first part, the impact of the cruise ships. And in the second paragraph, the impact that go climbing or trekking, has in the Himalayas or in other places, or the expeditions. Well, I mean, the expeditions that are being organized is to clean the place. And then in number 3, you see, we have the construction that, construction of different, buildings in an inspiring way, for example, out of control. It's also a negative impact of tourism at the end. The low cost, you see, of flights is another impact. But this is, I think, it has to do with negative impact, you see, of tourism. I agree that is letter C. Let's go with number 4. It says, read the article again and complete the table. Yeah, it says, if you have good memory, maybe we can do it. Place, it says, type of tourism, and then we have activity. Yeah. Patagonia, it says cruise. Yeah. Yeah, that's done. Está listo. Patagonia cruise. So we're referring to the holiday, on a holiday ship. The effect of this type of tourism, right? When you go by, for example, by ship, right? In these special ships that are the cruise ships, right? What is the effect? For example, we have one, waste affects, especially what? According to the article, in Patagonia, for example, the waste affects mainly what?
Wildlife.
Yeah, exactly. Wildlife. Yes, the wildlife. So in number 2, you have to write wildlife. Correct. In Everest, remember that people go climbing there? Yeah, in Everest, the type of tourism is climbing, and they also have expeditions. The effect that this have is the mountain is covered in what? In general, in what? I think it's in
waste.
Yeah, in waste and trash in general, because we have food containers, we have food, we have containers that we throw away, we have also household trash there. So I think it's trash, right? And waste also. In next one, it says the Mediterranean, Europe. This is the place, the Mediterranean. He's talking about Europe, right? In the coast of the Mediterranean. We have, what types of tourism you have there? Beach resorts, for example. And another one is, what do you put there in number 5? It could be air travel, I think. Air travel. It's another type, air travel. In effect, what is the effect of this type of tourism? For example, in case of the beach resorts, what is the effect? Beach resort.
Spiraling out of control.
Yeah, okay. So the construction in general, also, we can also use that word. Construction is out of control. Yes. And in the case of air travel, what is the effect? A big impact on what? You know that the planes, the airplanes in general, you know, have a terrible effect and they have a big impact on what? On what?
Climate change?
Yeah, on climate change. This is what we are suffering today, right? Climate change. So this is the planes cause a lot of damage. So this is a very bad impact, and it's a big impact on climate change. All right. 5, it says here, answer the questions with information from the article. Maybe here you can do it in the house. A lo mejor lo pueden hacer solitas en la casa, and we can correct it later. Lo podemos corregir después, ¿ya? Do it as a homework. Pónganlo ahí, tarea, homework, para que lo lean de nuevo tranquilas. You can read it together, and we can review next class homework, okay? Now we go to the vocabulary, which is very important here. Yeah, it says, find these words in the article, and then complete the sentences, and in one sentence, more than one word is possible. Okay, let's see, number 6. All right. We have population, we have waste, we have habitats, we have pollute, impact, greener, and trash. Yeah, remember when we talk about trash, we mean food, we mean containers, and so on. So the things that we throw, that's trash, we throw away. Also, for example, household trash, right? That's trash. Okay. Here we go then with the number 6, 5 and 6, right? Okay, number 6 then. Yeah, the first one is here. Let me read it again. It says human activity has a big on wildlife.
Impact?
Yeah, a big impact. Impact. Correct. This is a big impact. All right. In number 2, we say on average, each person in the US produces about 1,600 pounds of each year.
Waste?
Yeah,
Or...
waste or trash, both. Cualquiera de las dos. Correcta. Waste, porque puede ser waste, and it could also be trash. So both are correct. Remember that it says more than one word is possible. So waste or slash trash. 3, the world has doubled since 1960. The world has the world population. Yeah, the world population. All right, the world population. So the people that live in different countries has doubled. So we have more people now. We need to protect different natural what? Yeah, we need to protect natural habitats. Yes, habitats. Yes, that's right, habitats. Recycling is than throwing things away. Is maybe recycling is what? Greener. Greener, correct. Is greener. Is greener than throwing things away. When we fly, the environment.
We pollute.
Yeah, good. When we fly, we pollute. We pollute. We pollute the environment when we fly.
Miss?
Yes.
What means greener?
Greener, recycling is greener. It refers to, se refiere a, ¿cómo se dice esta cosa en español? How do you say that in Spanish? Is greener. Se refiere a la gente a las que cuidan el medio ambiente. How do you say that? A los que protegen el medio ambiente, por eso son los más verdes. Siempre se ha asociado el verde con los ambientalistas. Por eso que dice que recycling is greener, o sea, el recycling es mucho más efectivo en el sentido de que es más positivo para el medio ambiente que lanzar cosas lejos. Eso es. Greener se refiere a algo más de ambiente, más ambiental, más de protección, que lanzar cosas en el medio ambiente. A eso se refiere greener. No es No es que sea de más verde, sino que es greener, se refiere, como te digo, a ser más protector del medio ambiente. ¿Ya? Y por eso hablamos nosotros de very green. Cuando nos referimos que es very green, es porque se refiere a recycling things, ¿sí? Traveling by bike, andar en bicicleta. Eso es greener, más greener. Eso es más, más natural, es más ambientalista. Esa es la idea de greener. Okay?
Thank you, Miss.
You're welcome, baby. It says then, well, here we have important things. Hay cosas súper importantes. You know that, ustedes saben, baby, no sé si han leído, pero los barcos, the ships, you know, ships usually have diesel engines. ¿Cierto? Los motores que yo uso son de diesel, son diesel engines. And others use gas turbines, turbinas de gas. And todo esto, these have, you know, high sulfur, tiene un sulfur content, tiene un alto contenido sulfúrico, tienen high sulfur content. Y eso es sulfur. El sulfur mixed with air and water, cuando se mezcla with air and water, you see, forms, ¿qué es lo que forma? Sulfuric acid rain, el que forma la famosa lluvia ácida sulfúrica, sulfuric acid rain. Eso es, pero which is the main, eso es el principal ingrediente de la lluvia ácida. Is the main ingredient of the acid rain. This is terrible. Eso es horrible. This can destroy. ¿Qué pasa con eso, con esa lluvia ácida? This can destroy, you know, the marine life. That's very important. And can corrode, you see, buildings and cause deforestation. So imagine how, you see, how harmful or terrible this is to the environment and to the ocean. And that's why I say I am against, yo estoy en contra, I am against cruise, you know, ships, because I think that they are very bad, you know, for the environment. Very bad, because these things, well, they say that now they are trying to change, you know, to improve the engines, but I'm not pretty sure if they are doing something like they can have another kind of effect. But what they have been doing up to now is terrible, because they have caused a great damage to the environment. You see, and also imagine that this has caused deforestation at the same time. So imagine how terrible this is to our planet. So that's why I don't like going by, you know, I mean, these kind of ships, right? Cecilia, when she invites me, she has invited me many times, Cecilia Regala, to go with her because she loves cruises, right? But I say, no, oh my God, no, I don't want to. I think they are terrible. No, I prefer not. I prefer to stay here or to go by car. You know, maybe we can use a car that is more, or that is greener, but not, you know, this kind of, it's like a monster, right? Okay, let's go on. Critical thinking, close reading. Yeah, it says here, mark these sentences true or false, or not enough information, because sometimes readings doesn't provide enough information, right? So for that, you put an N based on the article. Number one says, mass tourism has grown steadily and has now reached its peak. Yeah. Is it correct or incorrect?
False, maybe.
False, yeah, because this has been growing a lot ever since, right? Not steadily. What is steadily? What is the idea of steadily? Has grown steadily. 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 Not like in a couple of years. Do you understand the meaning of steadily?
It's like
I think it's not
continuously.
false. It's not false. I think it's N. I would put N because I'm reading the paragraph again and it doesn't give enough information. No da mucha información. But I think it's N. No, not enough information. What did you say, Tiare?
Steadily is continuamente.
Yeah, okay. Has grown, no continuamente, no, steadily in this text. What is that? Kimberly, do you know that? Steadily, mass tourism has grown steadily and has now reached its peak.
I don't know how to describe it, sorry.
But do you understand it? ¿Entiende el sentido, the meaning?
Yeah, I get the idea.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to give it to you anyway. Wait a minute. Let's finish the exercise and we'll go back. 2. Cruises have had a negative effect on penguins
True.
and other animals.
True?
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, this is true. This is correct. True. Yes. The other one says here, non-industrial countries accept the negative effects of tourism. Do you think this is right? I think that maybe here, accept the negative effects. I think that the article doesn't provide enough information about this. So I would say N, non-industrial. Non-industrial countries have accept the negative effects. No, I think that we don't have enough information. So I would put N. This is, it could be unfair to put true or false. 4, economic problems mean that construction on the Mediterranean coast has stopped.
This one is false.
Yeah, it's false because it's absolutely false because they say that there is an inspiring, out of control. So that means that maybe they have been building things, like in a crazy way. So has it stopped? No, it hasn't stopped yet. 5, there are less damaging ways of seeing the world than air travel. There are less
True.
damaging ways, of seeing the world than air travel. Yeah, that's true. That is true. So it says discuss the last sentence of the article as a class. The last sentence. What is the last sentence? Can you check the last sentence, Kiare? Wait a minute. The last sentence. Can you read the last sentence, please? Give me a second. Wow. Se me desarmó. Ya. Se me desarmó el libro. Okay. Yeah, the last part of the article. Can you check it? Can you check what is the last part, the last sentence?
I don't know, Miss.
The last
From
sentence.
the article.
Yes, in the article.
Okay.
It says it's time to ask ourselves some difficult questions. Yeah, because they are very difficult questions. It says, have we been destroying the very places we are escaping to? What can you say here? Have we been destroying the very places we are escaping to? Yeah, so it's a difficult question, but we need to answer this. So it says here that we have to discuss about it. Yeah, we can discuss about it. Of course we can do it. So as a class, yeah. What do you think? What is your opinion? Have we been doing this? Have we been destroying the very places? Because there are many places. So the very places, we have places everywhere in Chile, we have in Peru, in Bolivia, in Argentina, then we go further, for example, in Egypt, you see, in China, maybe in different places around the world. So have we been destroying the very places we are escaping to? So people are escaping, when they are on vacation to different places. They're escaping, to the south of Chile, to the north of Chile, and then abroad to other countries like Peru, you see, Argentina, and then Brazil, and then they go to the US, you see, to maybe Egypt, as I told you, or Japan, or etc. You see? So the question, have we been destroying the very places we're escaping to?
I think that yes, we have.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I think that this is right because you see, there are many people. So there are lots of people traveling, you see, to these places. And at the same time, I think that maybe you can tell me if I am okay or not, but I think that we are very irresponsible, you know, and because we really don't take care about, these natural places, about the environment. People continue, for example, let's say dumping, for example, tons of waste into the ocean when they travel, for example, by cruise ships. They continue doing that. So they think that the ocean is like a, waste paper basket, right? And it is not. Or when people go, for example, to Patagonia. I went to Patagonia and I could see this. I could see that, the wildlife is being affected by, these cruises, because you know that these Tiare, for example, these cruise ships are arriving in Patagonia too, So uh, many tourists, go to the city and they stay in the city for 1 or 2 days, and there are so many, and they see that they go to these places because they are interested in, for example, in seeing penguins, but now it's very difficult, so you cannot see them very often because the wildlife has been, also damaged by these things, right? By ships, by people, by irresponsible people, etc. Also by flights, because there are also some planes that go there. So I think this is correct when they say that if we have been destroying the very places we are escaping to. And remember that, for example, in Chile, that people try to preserve um, Torre del Paine. They try to preserve them a lot because it's a very natural place and it's very beautiful. And people, when tourists go there, uh, there are people, in charge of the place, responsible of the place, that they are all day looking at all the tourists, what they are doing, where they're going, because now they have specific areas where you can go. You cannot go to every place that you can, or every place you want to. No, 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 no. Just because many things have happened, and this is incredible, but most of them have been people from other countries, not from Chile. I mean, in Torres del Paine, for example. So I think it's terrible. Well, anyway, what do you think? So we can become greener people. That would be great. It would be okay, right? If we become greener people, the idea is when we are greener, for example, we have to do things to help the environment, right? Gary, for example, what can we do? We can, for example, let's say, don't turn the lights, for example, don't turn the lights on when there is ample, ample natural light, for instance. You can share, for example, handouts instead of having one per person. The idea is not to throw the papers that we are using. So the idea is to be, I think, to be greener, right? That's the idea. So we have to use energy, resources, we can commute, well, we can do lots of things. Well,
Miss,
yes,
what is the difference between turn off and turn down? It's the same.
no, it's not the same. To turn off is when you,
Apagar.
yeah, you can turn off every, for example, machine, right?
The radio.
Yeah, the radio also. It could be a machine, it could be an equipment, it could be the light that you have here in the house, for example. Um, turn down is, for example, turn down the street is when you make, let's say, for example, a turn, but you continue going down. Es girar, pero girar hacia abajo. Turn out es girar, pero hacia atrás, mirar así, para atrás. Turn out. Turn down es como ir hacia abajo. Turn down. And vuelve hacia abajo. Turn down. Or go, like go down, como go down. Turn down. That's the idea of turn down. But nothing to do with apagar. Y turn on is the opposite. ¿Te acuerdas del turn on?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the idea of turn down. Turn it down.
Thank you, Miss.
Turn up, turn down. Turn up. Turn up is when you, for example, if you're listening to the radio and I say turn it up, means you have to put the volume, louder, subirlo. Turn up. Turn down, bájalo.
Ah, sí,
Para el volumen.
porque ese
Turn
ejercicio
down.
vi.
Yeah. Eso también tiene ese meaning. Turn down, bajar. Por eso te decía descender, bajar. Bajar, por ejemplo, el volumen de algo. Turn down the volume, right? Okay.
Thank you, Miss.
Those are the meanings. Yes. So this is only for speaking. Aquí no hay nada de grammar. There's nothing about grammar. Solamente es comprehension and vocabulary probably, but mainly comprehension. And we have to know, tenemos que saber de esto. We have to know about the disadvantages and the advantages of tourism and what are the effects y cuáles son los efectos que tiene. Effects, for example, when people, the real cost of travel, los efectos que tiene el viajar, ya sea por mar, por aire, right? Okay, incluso por tierra. There are some things, hay algunas cosas that some people, for example, have said that I consider them very important, that says that, for example, mira, alguien dijo una cosa que era bien interesante, salió en un diario, decía, though there are some disagreeable things in Venice, Venecia, in Venice, there is nothing so disagreeable as the visitors' flow. Did you understand this? Mira,
yes.
Though there are some disagreeable things in Venice, there is nothing so disagreeable as the visitors.
Qué feo.
Yeah, so that means that, but it's not like as you are thinking, maybe the idea is there's something else behind. Between the lines, we can say that maybe these people are not happy with visitors in terms of that they pollute, for example.
Yes.
They can pollute their canals, for example. And that's why they say that there is nothing so disagreeable as the visitors. Yeah, because they don't have the same, for example, let's say maybe customs, las costumbres, the customs that they have. So that's why, they say this, but at the end, I think they are right. They are right, babies. So pay attention to the importance that this can have, right? Well, maybe we can go on because of the time, because Mr. Núñez is calling me, and I'm going to finish, this class because we started later. Partimos un poquito más tarde. We started later, and that's why I am finishing a little bit later, right? So we can go on next class. Podemos seguir la próxima clase. We can go on next class, and you can prepare, the exercise 5, and then we continue together. Y seguimos juntas, little by little, de a poquito. Tenemos harto tiempo todavía. Don't worry. Okay?
Okay, Miss.
So, thank you very much. And check the guía, Tiare. Cheque la guía, check the guía.
Yes.
And you can ask me and see the video, because in the video you have all the answers.